What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 39 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Michelangelo to my Donatello, Lester Jones.
Donatello is a smart one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, we got the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder, eating that poon, never stopping too soon, the clit licking, never quitting, having fun, making pussies, run the phenomenal one. A.J. Singh.
Woo! Yeah, hello everyone.
So Roman said yesterday you were too high to get out of bed.
That's what I was going to ask, for everybody, who is a fellow traveler of the green like AJ. Hopefully you had a nice 420. But yeah, what about yourself? Did you celebrate in kind?
Yeah, I definitely celebrated. I got myself a nice little bottle of tincture, which is like basically like marijuana oil.
Okay.
And you drink it, and it comes on in about 30 minutes. And I got some edibles too, so I took the tincture first, enjoyed, then I took the edibles. But yeah, all in all, it was a good day.
You ever get aboard like the CBD train? You ever try that sort of stuff?
I think CBD is a waste. Like, you don't really feel it. It doesn't. It definitely doesn't have the high. So
they pretty much just claim it's like it's calming or something.
They say that, but you don't feel it.
That's what I was wondering. Like, if you're like somebody who regularly smokes or takes edibles, like, is there a point to CBD? Because you're like,
even if you don't take that stuff, like, I don't think there is a point to CBD. I don't think it has a relaxing effect on the body. I gave it to my parents.
It comes with everything else, right?
Yeah.
But you can get it by itself or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Cannabidiol, I think. You ever try it, CBD at all?
I don't think so. I know Roman was taking it for a while.
Yeah. She stopped taking it too. I don't think it had an effect on her.
Besides that, you guys have any stories from the week? You guys do anything interesting?
I watched 48 Hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
He was young in that.
Yeah, he was really
like 20
young.
Or something.
Yeah. And I was like, man, you cannot remake that movie today. Like, there is some stuff said in that movie that goes on in that movie that I'm like, whew. But this is strictly to the 80s or whatever time period this is. Because, like,
you can't do that.
Yeah, Nolte and other people are dropping N-bombs. And I was just like, oh, boy.
You still get away with it if you're black.
Yeah. It was a different time.
Like, did you like the movie? Did you think it held up, or besides, I guess, those things?
I mean, the story, it wasn't bad. It was.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a decent buddy flick or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I saw it when I was a kid, but I don't remember anything from that movie.
It's been a long time.
It's about these cop killers who Nolte's chasing. And it turns out that Eddie Murphy was, like, part of their gang at one point. He had, like, stolen some money with them. So Nolte gets Eddie Murphy out of jail for 48 hours, and they try to solve it together. And, Nolte's a cop, and he's got his own, like, racist, backwards views. And then Eddie Murphy hates white people, so, they're working together, and they're just like, there's one scene where they have a full-on fist fight, and it goes on for, like, a minute and a half. like, they're just punching each other in the face over and over again. And then they, like, eventually it gets broken up because two other cops arrest them because they don't know that they're, like, working on this police case. And yeah, it's just so they get over their issues with each other and work together to solve the case and stuff. It was it addresses racial issues like movies do today, but in a much more like like really deep into it, kind of disturbing almost.
Fighting
Yeah. I was like, man, that movie goes hard.
Now, does it make you want to see another 48 Hours?
No. And Eddie Murphy was only in he was in 2/3 of the movie, but it would have been good to see him in the whole movie. The movie really picks up when he gets into it. So Nick Nolte just doing his own thing is kind of boring. But yeah, I wouldn't watch a second movie.
What about you? What you been doing this week? Or?
I don't know. They actually made me do work at work, so
bastards.
Yeah.
I got a story about that.
Yeah, that's a tragedy.
I hope that never happens to you again.
Now we've been preparing for our review of the Falcon and Winter Soldier for next week's show.
I'm almost prepared.
You've
for
been belly aching about watching that, but have you watched anything on your own that you've enjoyed, or maybe?
I was watching a little Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it's
The
good.
new one?
Yeah, because there was a season I hadn't watched or something. So.
Yeah, I haven't watched a ton other than the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I did check out another Turner classic, one called The Thin Man, which it's hard to explain. I would describe it as kind of like a romantic comedy mixed with a murder mystery. It was like a decent movie. Like, I liked it. The thing that puzzled me is The Thin Man. Does that phrase mean something else in like the 30s?
Is it a dick reference?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
So angry, I gotta kill somebody.
Because like the whole time I was like, oh, there's going to be like a mysterious figure that is maybe a murderer that's going to be like a thin guy, right? That's what you think by the title. But never in the movie is that a part of the plot. So I'm like, was a thin? Did people call detectives thin men, or did like people who disappeared because they like in the thin air? Because there is like a mystery surrounding like the this guy that's missing. Is like that the thin man? I was like, the thing that left me puzzled wasn't the murder mystery as much as the title. I was like, where does this come from?
Yeah, Thin Man.
Getting close to the end of the movie, you're like,
There was never a thin man.
Bunch of fat guys in this movie.
there wasn't like an ironically fat man. Thin.
Not really. I mean the main detective guy was like thin, but I mean that wasn't like. They never mentioned it like it was a thing, you know.
He's slim.
Yeah, nothing like that. So I don't know. I was a bit puzzled by why it was called that.
At the end of the movie, they're like, you're a real thin man, Jim. Good job.
You didn't check the credits.
But I can at least endorse it. I thought it was a good film.
Okay, right. That sounded like Thinner to me. I thought you were talking about that movie, Thin Man. So that's from 1930s?
Yeah, like 1930 something.
Dang, where did you see this movie?
It was on HBO Max because they got a bunch of like Turner classic films on there.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I just, I like murder mysteries and like, crime noir and stuff like that. So I'll every once in a while dive into one of those.
I'm more fascinated by being able to see a movie from like nearly 100 years ago. That's just on its own like amazing, right?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy too when you think about it and be like, man. Yeah, because like, when were the first like silent films? Those were like 1920s, right?
20s, 30s, yeah.
So like we're coming up on like 100 years of film. That's pretty fucking wild if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, Wizard of Oz is like 80 years old or something, right? 1940s?
Yeah, I don't know. It was black and white.
To this day, I've never seen Wizard of Oz, and it's on HBO as well. I gotta just watch it one of these days.
Oh yeah, man! I'm surprised to hear that it was on just the regular channels and when we were kids and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was all over the place. My parents never watched it really. I don't think so. I never really watched it as a kid. And
did you get all the references though? Like when people would be like flying monkeys?
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of those things that's so popular that you kind of know people are referencing it, especially when they talk about like Toto and the ruby slippers and I'm melting, all that kind of stuff. Like I always knew those references. I just never watched the film. It's kind of weird. Like Citizen Kane was the same way. Like, because like even like Tiny Toons made like a Rosebud reference and things like that. And so like like you knew these like references to movies you never watched. It's kind of weird. All right, should we get this show on the road and see what kind of stupid news stories we can find this week? AJS Tradition Dictates. We'll start with you.
All right. Docs use saw to cut off do-it-yourself sex toy off junkie's penis. Balls to that.
Do it yourself. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, cops use saw to cut do-it-yourself sex toy off junkie's penis. A Moroccan junkie's do-it-yourself sex toy cut off the blood supply to his penis and had to be cut off with an electric saw. Both his penis and scrotum became swollen, blue and cold due to to the touch as a result of his drug-fueled, hormone-charged hijinks. But even when he arrived at the hospital, he remained erect, a shocking 12 hours after squeezing his bits through a steel ring. At the hospital, he admitted that he used 4-centimeter diameter in gold ring to maintain an erection while masturbating. At the Marrakesh University Hospital, medics first used bolt cutters to remove the ring, but their efforts fell flat. Docs using a rotating saw eventually succeeded in freeing the imprisoned penis, but according to urology case reports, cold water had to be constantly applied to cool the area and keep the saw from frying his phallus. The unidentified man's genitals returned to normal color and size without any lingering damage. Dr. Abdel Latabi wrote in urology case files, genital decompression should be as quick as possible to try to recover the external genital organs. The electric saw is very useful, particularly for devices with large thickness, but it is absolutely necessary to take precautions so as not to damage the underlying tissues. Penis strangulation can be serious, and in some cases, doctors are forced to amputate the entire penis so gangrene doesn't spread.
Well, that article brings some visuals to mind.
It reminds me of another article.
Gangrene penis. Gotta squeeze that in there.
Remember we had that article before with that guy who had the screw around his...
Yeah, he put his dick in like a bolt or like a nut or something.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was fucked up at the time at least. So there was some sort of understanding as to his frame of mind.
Man, I know people use like cock rings and stuff, but it does seem like dangerous.
Yeah.
Maybe there's you need to invent like a safer form of a cock ring that you can
Like one that
unlatch
can,
or something.
yeah, that one can like come apart from the side. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, instead of a solid piece.
Yeah, I don't think I would be wanting to use one that was just a solid piece.
Yeah.
Like it would have to have like a latch on the side or something. Hey, if they don't make one of those, we should invent one.
Yeah. Talk to these people.
Or you could just use like a piece of rubber tubing or something. Tie it off like a heroin junkie.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't get the need to do that, though.
Yeah. Not yet.
That day's coming.
we all get there.
All right. Should we move from gangrene penis to manifesto round one?
Okay, we're going to have to move into stories that I hope are true. I did not do my fact checking on this one. A 48-year-old woman claims to make $4,200 a month on OnlyFans selling fart videos.
48-year-old woman?
Yeah, so she just goes on there. She records videos of her farting.
Is it naked farting or just...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because otherwise I don't
Like,
think people
I haven't
pay
logged
that much.
in. But, yeah, possible sex fetish, I guess. But she says she eats a special diet to enhance the performance. And then she'll sell specialty clips to, the big spenders.
If this story is true, she's also got to be like a MILF. She's got to be like a hot 48, right?
I mean,
are
she looks
people
like
gonna...
a middle-aged woman, the picture I saw.
Oh, really? That's disappointing.
Now what are you going to do?
Would you be with a really hot woman, but she has a condition and she just like all day, every day is just ripping like the worst farts you've ever smelled and she can't like help herself?
I mean, there are certain times when you don't want that, I guess. I mean, on the other hand,
All the time.
It'd be like, it's fair game for me to fart then. I'd be like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
if you're doing it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, but hers are smelly, like really smelly.
Yeah. Then you got to start eating broccoli and shit so you can compete.
But will she dump you?
That would be fucked up. She's like, I can't take your farts. You're like, what?
That's the cornerstone
I can't
of our
help it.
Was that it on that one?
Yeah.
Well, I also have a farting story that's also a follow-up, an update on a story AJ brought us several months ago. Man fined for farting on cop argues farts are protected forms of expression. The alleged flatulent was hanging at the park with friends when he was approached by a group of police officers. That's when things got windy. A 22-year-old Austrian man who made headlines in June of last year after he was fined 500 euros for farting on police officer argued in court that his fart actually falls under freedom of expression. Austrian daily newspaper Der Standard reported last week. A decision released by the administrative court in Vienna, the court lays out some much-needed detail in regards to the alleged events that transpired on that fateful day, meaning that we as readers can look at the facts and come to our own conclusions about whether the fart was indeed protected speech. The ordeal began on June 5th, 2020, when the farting man named Mr. A.B. in the document was hanging out with friends at an unnamed park when a group of police officers approached him during a routine identity check. That's when things got windy. When he released the intestinal gas, the complaint was sitting on a park bench, the document reads. He then lifted his buttocks and tensed up a little bit before letting the intestinal gas escape. The complainant's friends laughed at the intestinal gas and witness F made a joke, the document continues. Due to the resulting entertainment from the intestinal gas, the defendant grinned at the officers. In court, the man argued that the fart was not intentional and that even if it was intentional, it would still fall under his fundamental right for freedom of expression. Unfortunately for the windbreaker, the judge didn't buy his argument. In a detailed legal assessment of whether farting is indeed a protected form of expression, the judge argues while farts and burps can cause social inappropriateness, they do not contain communicative content. And even if they did, it would still be considered a form of expression that transcends the boundaries of decency. The judge
might disagree with that.
The judge did show some sympathy for the man, though, reducing the fine from 500 euros to 100 euros, citing his financial situation and the fact that he had no criminal record. However, speaking to local Viennese newspaper Courier, Matej Zenz, the man's lawyer, made clear that this is a hill his client is willing to die on, and that they would be appealing the decision to the country's constitutional court.
Taking this to the highest court in the land.
It's a matter of principle for us, the Zenz said, because it's petty to get a punishment for a fart.
It is petty.
It is.
How'd you like to rule on that one? Like, there's no way I'm going to charge. It's going to be like, get the fuck out of here.
It really is the case of smelt it v dealt it. That's just, I don't know.
That's a case the people can get behind, I think.
Yeah.
I like to, like the opposition lawyer or whatever is like, he claims the fart was unintentional, but you'll note the leg hiking beforehand.
Yeah.
Is that the actions of an unintentional fart?
He tensed up before he pushed it out.
Your Honor.
Turns into my cousin Vinny.
Oh, yeah.
A 1987 fart can't travel at that speed. Whatever.
We should actually make a skit that's this courtroom scene. There's like one of those crude drawings, and it has like a guy lifting his leg.
The witness says.
Yeah, it's so stupid. AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Supreme scammer. Man gets paid for 15 years despite never showing up for work. Just call it the sequel to the Italian Job. Only this time, the big score came in the form of years of payouts for work not done by an Italian man. It was a great gig for 1.5 decades, but now the jig is up for the unidentified loafer. Police in Italy say he didn't show up for work at the Pugliese Caccio Hospital in Catanzaro, Calabria for 15 years. Yeah, I butchered all of it.
Samsonite.
Yes, still got paid for that entire time, a total of nearly $647,000. The man, now 67, allegedly didn't show up for work starting in 2005, according to The Guardian. He has been charged with abuse of office, forgery, and aggravated extortion via an investigation which was aptly named part-time. Police are probing 6 managers for allegedly helping the suspect carry out his plot. Reports from Italy said the suspect threatened the hospital director 15 years ago when she planned to report him to Human Resources about missing work. After she retired, apparently information about the man was never given to her successor or any other employees. So it just sounds like this guy had a system set up to where he could get
he got in the system and then disappeared.
Yeah, some woman tried to call him out on it, but she didn't get him. I mean, honestly, if you could get away with it, do it, I guess.
I mean, 15 years.
15 years of free paychecks. That's pretty good.
$647,000. Not bad at all. Go for it.
Universal basic income for that guy.
Yeah.
The system works.
Yeah. In Italy. Everybody go to Italy.
All right, Manifesto round 2.
90-year-old Hong Kong woman loses $32 million in phone scam.
God damn.
So apparently, so they were making calls and somehow they rounded up this woman. They went and took her like a phone and different stuff, and so over a course of 10 payments, she lost $32 million. But there have been a few arrests in the case, so they're catching up with these guys. But
I hope they find her money. They're not going to get that.
Wait, how did the scam work exactly?
it just says phone scam. So apparently, like, they made contact with her and they were posing as like government officials.
Oh.
And yeah, so I guess someone actually showed up at her door and they brought her a phone so they could communicate. And like somehow got 10 payments out of her.
So they basically just took like the IRS scam to a whole nother level.
That's a big one. I don't know.
But man, this woman must have been filthy rich, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have a shitload of money, yeah.
Yeah, how do you know to get $32 million out of a person? You gotta know they have that money.
But then there's another one that just like mentioned at the bottom that I didn't look up. It said in January 2019, an 85-year-old man lost more than $73.9 million in a gold scam. Oh, $80 million from 7 victims. So that was more like $10 million a pop.
Oh,
but
still.
yeah.
I mean, if you're that wealthy, you would probably normally diversify your investments, you know, like not just put 30-something million into one thing.
Oh, it's $80 million for 7 victims, but it still says he must have lost most of it, the one guy.
Yeah.
Damn.
Man, I don't know. That's why lottery winners, when they have to be public, I feel like, man, you're going to get scammed, you know, like...
Yeah, you're going to have relatives coming out of the woodwork. You're going to have all this kinds of different shit.
Like business opportunities, you know?
So, yeah, I mean, you just got to watch yourself. If I won the lottery, I don't even know if I'd fucking tell anybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah, I would try to keep it secret.
Yeah.
Definitely. I wouldn't even want relatives to know.
Yeah.
Especially, actually. All right. You know, this story is funny because, you know, a couple weeks ago we were talking about that ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal.
Right. Ever Given.
And you just kind of made an offhand comment like, oh, no, now my dildo is going to be later, or fleshlight or sex toy or whatever. And it turns out there might be some truth to that.
Yeah.
Suez Canal blockage leaves Europe without garden gnomes and sex toys.
Well, didn't they confiscate it? They're going to try to recoup some of the money out of those goods or something.
It doesn't say that in this article, but I don't know.
Yeah, the Egyptian
I
government,
read that it was
they were
seized by the
finding,
government,
they
yeah.
seized the ship, yeah.
The Suez Canal getting blocked by a cargo ship has to be one of the biggest fuck-ups in recent memory. The whole fiasco brought a good portion of the global trade to a screeching halt. With the canal clogged, ships carrying goods and materials couldn't get to their destinations. As a result, people in countries around the world are now facing shortages with various things. But the UK might be having the worst time of all. The country is reportedly struggling with a lack of garden gnomes. We haven't seen a gnome in 6 months now, unfortunately, Ian Burns, assistant manager of Highfield Garden World store, told The Guardian. There aren't any. There's definitely a shortage, he added. Since gnomes aren't coming in from abroad, this seems like a good time for British gnome makers to step up production, right? No such luck. Even the basic elements of making garden gnomes have run out. Raw materials are becoming a bit of an issue, and unfortunately, gnomes are a victim of the shortage. Gnomes of any type, plastic, stone, or concrete, are in short supply, Burns said. How can the country survive this disaster? And I'm going to skip a little bit because basically they said the reason the gnomes are in such demand is because when the pandemic hit and everybody was inside, a lot of people started gardens, and so that's why demand went up. But let's be honest, we want to get to the sex toy part. Speaking of the rest of Europe, it's not just garden gnomes that are in short supply. Some countries, like the Netherlands, face a shortage of a fleshier variety. Namely, one of the ships stuck in the canal was carrying 20 containers filled with sex toys, from dildos to vibrators and male masturbation aids. The ship's
like a full shipping containers?
I guess.
Damn.
20 containers, yeah. The ship's cargo had something to scratch every itch. Unfortunately, there was no way for these goods to reach lusty customers.
What class do you have to take in college to write this stuff?
EDC Retail, the largest sex toy retailer in the Netherlands and Belgium, said it had nothing to offer its customers since most of its existing toy stock had been swept up earlier in the year during Valentine's Day. Due to the shipping blockage, the company predicts it lost millions of dollars. Although ships can again slide in and out of the canal, sex toy retailers are still left unsatisfied. It is annoying that such a hitch will continue for a long time before the rhythm in the transport chain is restored, lamented EDC retailer CEO Evertine Magerman. Just like with garden gnomes, the sex toy situation was further exacerbated by the pandemic. Some sex stores have seen sales triple during lockdown. Suppose gardening can't satisfy all needs. And it's too bad because if you had a garden gnome, maybe you could substitute with the pointy hats.
Yeah.
Flashlight gnome.
Put those hands together.
Yep.
But yeah, I just thought that was funny because you kind of made that like offhand joke, and I'm like, oh man, he was right.
So much dildos. You think that's like every ship that's like going it somewhere? It's got like 20 boxcars of dildos.
It's
Every
funny.
ship has a dildo room.
It's funny though, because don't you kind of think there's got to be so many dildos on Earth that there would never be a shithead dildo shortage?
The virus hit, and I was going through a dildo a week.
Yeah, and aren't these dildos like most of them just like plastic or rubber, like things that won't break down? Or?
Yeah.
I think like the fleshlight stuff and like those silicones, I think they do. Like they have a lifetime, but yeah, you figure like some of the harder ones probably stick around for a while.
Yeah. Somebody's really going to town on them.
It's sad enough, like, the guy using the flashlight probably doesn't feel great about himself, but if he starts like wearing them out like all the time, that's got to make him even more depressed.
Or, well, I don't know, he could be proud of himself,
That's true. I'm really tearing up these fucking flashlights, man. Showing them who's boss.
Look at all these flashlights. Destroyed them.
Even though they're broken, he keeps them. It's just like
like a trophy.
Yeah.
It seems like something gross you'd see like floating down the river.
Beat up
Flashlight.
It'd be funny if you go to the dump and they just put them all in one pile.
Like flashlights over there.
Or they have specific. No, they should have a recycling can that's just for flashlights. Oh man. Okay, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. If you guys had $1 million, where would you spend it?
Flashlights.
Flashlights, all right. Well, this woman went to the dollar store.
Oh, jeez.
Woman nabbed trying to use $1 million bill at Dollar General. 2 Tennessee women were nabbed for allegedly trying to pass off $1 million bill as the real thing. Amanda McCormick, 39, and a relative, 61-year-old Linda Johnson, allegedly attempted to pay for several gift cards at a Dollar General store in the Knoxville area with a phony $1 million bill. The police report, which was obtained by the Smoking Gun, says officers were told by McCormick that the counterfeit bill was sent to her in the mail by a church but was unable to provide information about the church. She also said that she was going to use the money to buy various items to help the homeless. Johnson told cops she didn't know about the fake cash and had only been with McCormick to run errands. The two women were not arrested on fraud charges, but the bill was confiscated. A verbal no trespass warning was given to the pair. The U.S. has never printed million-dollar bills as a legal tender, but some are produced as an art series by a Canadian firm and sold for $1. Oh, that's interesting. I never knew there wasn't a $1 million bill.
Yeah, I know there are definitely higher denominations that only the banks use, but I don't remember what they are.
But yeah, this woman, she thought, hey, even if this isn't, like, let's say you could trick somebody into thinking that was real. The dollar store is where you go.
I got $20 of crunching money.
She was like, I'm getting how much did she think it was? $1 million, right? So she thought I was getting $999,999 back.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, just hearing that, you can pretty much tell the cop showed up and was like, this person's too stupid to arrest.
Yeah. That was too stupid. I mean, to a dollar store. Like, they're going to have change for $1 million.
Yeah.
All right. That was it.
Okay, so there's apparently something in Antarctica called the Doomsday Glacier.
Oh, I've heard of this.
But it's 100 miles long and like 4,000 meters deep. But they say it's kind of like melting where it connects to land. So the idea is it could break free at some point, and they figure if it did, sea levels would rise like 10 feet in the world. Like, I don't know. They don't have like any timeline, but that would be pretty impressive.
Like, if it did break loose, like, how much time would we have before the...
I mean, glaciers generally move kind of slow. This article kind of makes it sound like, basically, since it's not sliding on land, but it's connected to land, like if that connection kind of erodes, it could happen relatively quickly.
Just another way to kill all of us.
Well...
No, not all of us.
Miami and Vienna. And
man, if they went up 10 feet, like, how far would that come into Oregon, do you think?
I think we'd be elevated above.
Yeah, we're well above 10-foot sea level, but I don't know how much.
But yeah, I mean, there'd be a lot of places underwater.
Yeah, I think, isn't it like more than half the world's population lives on the coast now?
I mean, definitely a lot of them, yeah.
Man. Yeah, that would be devastating.
Yeah, because you get all your ports and stuff, and then you get a lot of people in those areas. Like, even already, they say that, like, Miami's, like, built up its streets, like, a couple feet just because, they're so close to sea level.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, I think part of Miami's kind of already been in danger, right?
Yeah, I think they've had some issues. I don't know exactly what, if it was storm-driven or what, but something.
I think Wyoming is like the most highly elevated area in the U.S.
Yeah, because the Great Divide goes through the Rocky Mountains, so part of it's probably in Wyoming, Montana, down through there. I
drove through there once, and it is windy as hell over there.
Yeah, it's crazy driving through, especially like eastern Wyoming, because basically they just have gate arms that go across the road, and it gets windy and they just shut it down, and you'll be driving and there'll be like those big like semi trucks just blown off on the side of the road laying there, and you're like, what the fuck? Dang. But yeah, it's nasty out there.
Yeah.
All right, was that it on that one?
Yeah.
This story actually kind of reminds me of your sister, AJ. Man seeks divorce after wife's fear of roaches drives them to move 18 times.
we never had to move, but there was screaming involved.
Yeah, I know. I was that time I was there for those couple months down in Houston. Like, I woke up one morning, but her screaming. I was like, "What the fuck?" And that's what it was. One little roach.
You're being murdered in the middle of the night.
That's her favorite thing about being up here. No roaches.
That is nice.
I do see, like, occasionally a stink bug, but not as many as we have back home in Montana.
Yeah.
They're crazy amount. Let's face it, nobody likes cockroaches, well, except the people who keep them as pets. But most of us find the skittering little horrors absolutely disgusting. Just like with everything, though, a distaste for roaches can go too far. Take, for example, this Indian man who is seeking divorce due, says her wife, I think it's his wife's borderline insane cockroach phobia. No, the man isn't some kind of cockroach fanatic who won't stomach any differing opinions. He's simply tired of moving houses. We're not talking about moving once or twice either. The couple from Bhopal in the state of Madhya Pradesh has moved houses 18 times in the past 3 years. As revolting as cockroaches are, even we have to admit that this is going a little too far. The couple got married in 2017 before they eloped. The software engineer was blissfully unaware of his bride's crippling fear of roaches. The man claims they must have got married fast, because you think it would have, if they were together even a year, you would think she would have, they would have came upon a roach or something. The newlyweds' marital bliss didn't last long. One day after the wedding, the wife entered the home's kitchen and let out a blood-curdling scream that alerted not only every single family member, but some neighbors as well. She came out of the kitchen screeching for help, pointing at the hellspawn she had just noticed. In the kitchen, a single cockroach crawled along, probably minding its own business. Most people would have probably been grossed out and killed the bug, maybe with a follow-up call to an exterminator, but that wasn't enough for this woman. She refused to enter the kitchen ever again. The only solution that would placate her, she said, was to move to a different house. And move they did. In 2018, the couple moved to a brand new home. Unfortunately for them, the hot and humid climate in Madhya Pradesh makes for a veritable cockroach paradise. As such, it didn't take too long for another bug to make its way into their new home. The wife demanded they move to another house. Reluctantly, the husband caved and they went to a new home. The cycle repeated then once again and again and again and again. After move number 18, I don't think it would have taken me that many, yeah. The husband put his foot down. He wanted to settle, and he was probably and understandably slightly concerned for his wife's mental well-being at this point. The man claims that he started taking his wife to see several different psychiatrists. They even went to the All India Institutes of Medical Science, one of the most respected medical institutes in all of India. Doctors prescribed medications to the woman, but she refused to take any of them. In her mind, there was nothing wrong with her. Cockroaches are filth incarnate, after all, so it was only natural to fear them. She says that she's done her best to get over the phobia, but her husband just doesn't understand her feelings. She even claims that her husband is trying to get her declared mentally ill for some nefarious purpose. I think I know.
Divorce.
As last-ditch effort, the couple went to the BHAI Welfare Society, an Indian organization that supports men experiencing domestic violence or trapped in a fake dowry. But even Zaki Ahmed, the organization's founder, was unable to help him. Tired of arguing and fighting, the man couldn't take it anymore. He has hired a lawyer, and his application for divorce is pending. So yeah, pretty crazy. Like, would you have even agreed to move once, or would you be like, no, you got to sort this shit out? I think because that would have been me.
Yeah, I don't think I would have moved.
Yeah, that's How many times did he move?
18 times.
Oh yeah, no, I would have murdered her. I'd be like, it's too much. I'm done.
Yeah, she must have been hot for him to move that many times.
I know. We all know how shitty having to move is. I fucking wouldn't do it 18 times for anybody. And like, I'd be like, okay, I guess we're moving somewhere where they don't have cockroaches. Right, we're moving to a whole fucking different country.
Yeah.
Get a freaking outpost in Antarctica.
I mean, really, if you were that scared of something, wouldn't you move to somewhere where they just weren't?
It would seem easier, yeah.
Yeah, but then you probably have to, you probably have to leave the whole country, right? Unless you move to like the mountains where it's snowing.
Yeah, it depends. I don't know. Because it's cold in like New York, and they're infested.
Yeah, they have cockroaches.
But we basically don't have any here.
Mm.
You can move to Montana. To my knowledge, there's Montana.
I don't remember ever seeing any.
No, I never did. Stink bugs aplenty though.
There are some stink bugs, yeah.
All right, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Let's see. Which one should I cover? Let's get into. Let's go to the Taiwanese couple. All right. So Taiwanese couple marry and divorce multiple times in 37 days to get more time off from work. Weddings are said to be one of the most stressful events in life, but one Taiwanese couple recently decided to go through the process 4 times in just a week, or just a few weeks, to extend their time off for a honeymoon. The bizarre story sparked heated online debate in Taiwan after the husband, an unnamed bank employee, exploited a legal loophole that obliges local companies to grant 8 days paid leave to newlyweds. Over a period of 37 days, he and his wife married 4 times and divorced 3 times, claiming the full period of time off for each wedding. Their creative, albeit not very romantic, attempt to maximize their honeymoon was confirmed by Taipei's Labor Department yesterday after the tale went viral on social media. The man's employer noticed his ploy and said it was only willing to offer 8 days off, claiming the man had abused the law. But in an unexpected twist, the bank was initially fined £480 or $830 by the Taipei City Labor Department for violating leave regulations. That was because, as far as the law goes, there is currently no restriction on how often an employee can apply for marriage leave. After the case became public, an online backlash ensued against the bank employee for taking advantage of the loophole and against the Labor Department for fining the bank. In a Facebook post earlier this month, Vivian Huang, deputy mayor of Taipei, said she was speechless about both the ruse and the ruling. In this case, it's obvious that the employee deliberately used marriage leave to profit from it. This obviously violates the principle of good faith, blah, blah. So, I mean, Taiwan is like one of those countries where people are working like an insane number of hours, right, and marriage numbers are like decreasing. So, you know, that's kind of like a backlash. Like, this happened in response to that, yeah, right? So, I mean, what do you guys think of it? This guy...
I mean, anytime you have legal stuff, there's always going to be someone who's trying to exploit it.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I'm just like, good for this
him.
guy.
Yeah, he found the loophole.
You found it, buddy. It's like, this lady just married a genius 3 times.
Yeah, I think,
4 times.
I think let him have his days off, close the loophole, and carry on, you know? But, I mean... I think there's also this major issue of people being worked like crazy has to be, at some point, you know, addressed. Like in Japan, it's also a pretty bad problem. People working like 14-hour days longer.
Yeah, it's definitely there. I don't know.
And there's a lot of competition. Suicide rates are high. Like, I don't know if you can sustain this kind of work ethic like for a long period of time.
I mean, if you think about it, even like a 40-hour work week, which is standard in America, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And like there are some countries I know that do like a 30-hour work week, and like a lot of times they say, you know, that productivity actually goes up in those situations. Yeah,
no, I've seen I've heard of studies where they like cut the work week like not in half but pretty low. And they said that the amount of production they get then is similar to how much they get out of a 40-hour work week, you know? Like, because people aren't working those whole 8 hours. They're only working, like, some of that time. So if people just go in and do that time of work and get out, then, you know, they're happier for it.
At the same time, then you got to survive on, 10 hours less of pay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, companies figure this stuff out. Usually whoever's more efficient will eventually win out, so I don't know.
All right. Manifesto round 3.
Well, after claiming COVID was a hoax and making a big ass out of himself, guess who came down with a bad case of cat scratch fever?
Oh, who did it now?
The Nuge.
Oh, the Nuge.
Yep, Ted Nugent. Said he thought he was going to die.
Really?
From a non-disease, huh?
I guess he got it pretty bad. But, yeah, there you go. A little bit of what is that, poetic justice.
So he was one of those people who was saying it wasn't real?
Yeah, basically he was calling it a hoax and, all this crap. So,
you ever see those Twitter memes that are like, how it started, how it's going, those type of. There was one a couple weeks ago that was like how it started, and it had this article about a Republican congressman, like same thing, like saying it's a hoax or whatever, and then it said how it's going in his article about how he died from COVID.
Yep. Yeah, no, it does it gets a handful of people really badly. So, but yeah, some people need that firsthand experience.
This article, I'm probably going to jump around a bit just because it's long as fuck, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. But I did find it kind of interesting, and like the beginning of the story actually sounds like it could be the opening of like a episode of CSI or something. Out of thin air, the mystery of the man who fell from the sky. It was Sunday, June 30th, 2019, a balmy summer's afternoon, and Will, a 31-year-old software engineer, was lounging on an inflatable airbed outside his house in Clapham, southwest London. He wore pajamas and drank Polish beer. As he chatted to his housemate in the sunshine, planes on their way to Heathrow Airport made their final approach overhead. On his phone, Will showed his housemate an app that tells users the route and model of the passing plane. He tested the app on one plane and then held his phone up again, shielding his eyes from the sun and squinting into the sky. Then he saw something falling. At first I thought it was a bag, he said, but after a few seconds it turned into quite a large object and was falling fast. Maybe a piece of machinery had fallen from the landing gear, he thought, or a suitcase from the cargo hold. But then he half remembered an article he had read years before about people stowing away on planes. He didn't want to believe it, but as the object got nearer and nearer, it became impossible to deny. In the last second or two of it falling, I saw limbs, said Will. I was convinced that it was a human body. Will took a screenshot of the flight app notification, and his housemate called the police to give them the details. Kenya Airways Flight KQ-100, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner that had left Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport 8 hours and 6 minutes earlier at 9:35 a.m. local time. Will went out on his motorbike, hoping he would see a bag lying on the road, praying it was just a bag or coat or something, he said. At one point, he found a rucksack lying on the road and felt a surge of relief. On a closer inspection, it was covered in dust. It couldn't have fallen from the plane. As I went around the next road, recalled Will, a police car came screaming past in the opposite direction and very nearly clipped my handlebars. I thought, oh my God, it was a human. That's definitely what this is. Will followed the police car, which led him to Offerton Road, 300 meters away from his home. A whey-faced young man, he looked to be in his 20s or early 30s, stood outside a handsome townhouse, trembling and silent. His name was John Baldock, also a software engineer and originally from Devon. He had a million-mile stare, said Will. Will looked through the window into the garden. The patio was totally destroyed. He looked at John. The first thing I said to him was, that was a human, wasn't it? Because I still wasn't 100%. And he didn't say anything, but he just looked at me and nodded. And then it hammered down on me like a weight of bricks. Will was right. It was a body. He had plummeted 3,500 feet, half frozen, hitting the ground at 3:38 p.m. He was a man who fell from the sky, the stowaway. So this is a guy, I'm going to skip a little bit here, but basically this is a guy that stowed away where the wheels go up.
Yeah.
And so it kind of talks about how like a detective on the case like tried to track down who this guy was, and I don't think he ever did. But then they kind of tell these other stories about people who have done this, and like how like dangerous it is. Okay. Stowing away in the wheel well of a passenger jet is, objectively speaking, a suicidally dangerous thing to do. According to the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, from 1947 to February 2020, 128 people around the world attempted to stow away in this manner. More than 75% of them died. This is not surprising. At every stage, imminent death is all but assured. The stowaway may fall out of the plane as it is taking off, as happened to 14-year-old Keith Sapsford in February 1970, who fell from the wheel well of a Douglas DC-8 traveling from Sydney to Tokyo shortly after takeoff. Astonishingly, a photographer captured the moment the schoolboy fell from the plane. If the stowaway survives takeoff, they can be crushed by the landing gear as it retracts into the wheel well. Oh, that would suck too. This is how in July 2011, 23-year-old Cuban stowaway Adonis Guerrero Barrios died above Havana after climbing onto an Airbus A340 bound for Madrid. If the stowaway avoids being crushed, they will probably die shortly after. Within about 25 minutes of takeoff, most passenger planes reach a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. The temperature outside the plane is approximately minus 54 degrees Celsius. Although the hydraulic lines used to extend and retract the landing gear emit heat, raising the temperature by as much as 20 Celsius, that's still minus 34 degrees. And that is enough to induce fatal hypothermia. The air pressure at cruising altitude is around 4 times lower than sea level, which means that a person's lungs cannot draw sufficient oxygen from the air. This will lead to hypoxia, when the blood is not able to supply enough oxygen to the tissues of the body, which can cause heart attacks and brain death. The rapid decrease in air pressure during ascent can also cause decompression sickness, known to divers as the bends, in which gas bubbles from the body causing a variety of debilitating conditions, some of them fatal. If the stowaway somehow survives the journey, they will certainly be unconscious when the plane begins its descent. So when the plane's landing gear extends on its final approach, usually within 5 miles of the runway, the stowaway will probably fall from the wheel well to the ground, thousands of feet below. This is why the bodies of stowaways are sometimes found in South London under the Heathrow flight path. Mozambican Carlito Vale, who fell from the British Airways flight in June 2015, was decapitated on impact with the air conditioning unit of an office block in Richmond. Jesus Christ. Pakistan-born Mohammed Ayaz fell from the British Airways flight in June 2001 and died on impact in a home-based car park, also in Richmond. And yet what is truly extraordinary, given the risks involved, is that some stowaways do survive. This is something scientists have trouble explaining, not least because they cannot run experiments simulating what happens to human beings shut into wheel wells at high altitude. Something happens that we don't fully understand, said Paulo Alves of the Aerospace Medical Association. Their best guess about how some stowaways cheat death, they hibernate. Stephen Verrenou, the world's leading expert on wheel well stowaways, that's just quite a title, outlined this theory in a 1996 paper for the Federal Aviation Administration. The person's core body temperature can fall to 27 degrees Celsius. A healthy body temperature is between 36.1 and 37.2 Celsius, or even lower. When the plane lands, a gradual rewarming occurs along with reoxygenation. If the individual is so fortunate as to avoid brain damage or death from hypoxia and hypothermia, cardiac arrest or failure on rewarming, or severe neurovascular decompression sickness complications, some progressive recovery or consciousness occurs. Verrenou declined to be interviewed for this piece, but confirmed via email that he still believes that the hibernation theory holds true. It goes on, but yeah, this is one of those things I never really thought about is, people trying to stow away in the wheel well of airplanes.
Yeah. My mom told me about this when I was a kid. She told me people used to do this from India trying to come to America. I don't know how much that happened, but because there's only 100 and something cases since 19...
Yeah, 128 cases since like 1947, I think is it.
30 below for like 20 hours can't be good for you.
But that's amazing that anybody survived that. That's incredible.
I mean, I'm thinking the ones that did survive, it must have been a flight that was on the shorter side.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But even like 30 minutes in that kind of cold weather is just insane.
It sounds like the lucky guy was the guy that just got crushed when the wheels went.
Yeah.
He didn't have to fucking freeze to death.
Yeah. Or fall out of the wheel.
Or you just fall out, smack your head on the tarmac.
Oh, God, that visual of that guy falling forever and then getting decapitated.
Hopefully he was already dead.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably was. But also there's that city above that was talking about this, like above like the landing zone where like they've had multiple dead bodies fall from the sky.
UK,
yeah. It's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live near train tracks or an airport in this situation.
But yeah, I saw that story and I'm like, the opening, like I said, like almost does seem like an opening to like a CSI. Like this guy falls and it's like, well, was it the fall that killed him? Did someone kill him up?
Yeah.
You could make some kind of mystery out of it.
Yeah, when a body flies out of the sky. Yeah, mystery is definitely.
He'd actually been murdered and then stuffed in there.
He was just modern luggage, is what he was.
So this has been a PSA, kids. Don't stow away in the wheel well of a airplane. It's a bad idea.
Yep.
All right, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Insane moment. Sleeping nurse springs up in back of Uber and savages driver. Sleeping Uber passengers usually make for the best Uber passengers, usually. That all changed for Michael Hesse Jr. when his woke up like a demon possessed before launching into a vicious attack. Insane video shows the 22-year-old Florida driver being strangled and bitten by his rabid rear seat passenger as witnesses try to pull her off him. 55-year-old nurse Michelle Stillwell was later arrested and charged with 2 felony counts of aggravated battery and tampering with a witness. Hesse told WFLA the incident occurred on April 17th at around 5 p.m. when he received a ride request from Tampa. When I first pulled up to pick up the rider, a young group of women approached the car and one of them said, "I called an Uber for my mother. Can you please get her home safe?" He assured her he would, and the silent ride home with the sleeping passenger was completely uneventful until she suddenly sprouted up. She started screaming curse words at me and slapped me in the face, he said, adding that she kept yelling, "My daughter," and "die." Hesse can be seen bringing the car to a halt in the video as bystanders begin to crowd around the commotion. He pleads, "I can't breathe," as she locks her hands around his throat and heaves back with all her weight. "I'm just your Uber driver," he begs as the witnesses reach in through the window and try to pry her fingers apart. Pulling his hair and clawing at his eyes, she suddenly lurches from the back and appears to bite into his neck, prompting screams of agony from the driver. "She sinks into my neck like a pit bull, shaking her head and stuff," he recalled. In the video, he finally pushes her off and escapes his own car. Photos from the incident show a chunk taken out of the back of his neck. Throughout the entire video, it is clear Hesse doesn't want to lay a hand on her despite the ongoing assault. "I let it happen. I didn't put my hands on her. I have 2 sisters and was raised not to put my hands on a female." In their incident report, arresting deputies noted Stillwell was under the influence of alcohol. Hesse claimed he reached out to Uber several times regarding the incident and hasn't heard a thing. Uber has not done a single thing or communicated to me about the incident. A welder by trade, he said the attack put him off against moonlighting for Uber. But yeah, so this is kind of, concerning because my dad drives Uber. He's like 70. And like this woman is a nurse.
I mean, that's horrifying. I mean, there was another one recently where like a couple teens.
Three girls were in the backseat and one of them like was coughing on the Uber driver. Is that what you're talking about?
That's an even different one. There was the one where
Uber Eats?
No, like I don't know if it was Uber or Uber Eats, but like there's a couple
teenage girls pepper spray.
Well, they tried to steal his car.
Oh, taser, yeah.
And he got like hung up in the door or something, and like he got drugged and killed.
Yeah.
Jeez. And they were basically released, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's such a senseless and horrific, stupid.
But yeah, I mean, there's that crazy shit. But I did Uber for a while, and I had an incident once where a woman fell asleep on me. And I don't know if she put in the wrong address or something, but when she woke up, like she didn't recognize the area, and she like started freaking out on me and like made me pull over, and she got off like in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, "What the fuck?" But I was like, "This bitch is crazy."
At least you got her out of there without her attacking.
Well, she wanted out, so I was like, I felt kind of weird, just like letting somebody out like in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. But I was like, well.
Yeah.
It was like some gang-ridden there. It's really dangerous.
She's like, this guy might be dangerous.
Well, I guess she thought, she must have thought I was dangerous or something because she was like freaking out and like acting all scared and stuff. And I was like, it's a fucking Uber ride, man. They have my information.
Yeah, I one time had an Uber where I just picked up this woman. And you know how it takes a second for the directions to adjust? So I took like a wrong turn to start off the ride. And she's like, "Oh, where are you going? Where are you going?" I'm like, I'm going this way. Don't worry. Women are, I guess it makes sense, but they are definitely nervous on those apps.
I mean,
yeah.
The majority of things that do happen to drivers.
Women. Oh, really?
Well, it seems that way. I mean, there've been like a couple weird instances, but they generally get weeded out, and you get found out really quickly if drivers are doing something weird.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, I think there has been quite a few cases like drivers like raping women or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of definitely of like sexual, inappropriate sexual behavior, like hitting on women. And
Oh, I'm sure lots of like inappropriate hitting on women happens.
so, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that seems too creepy. I
But
couldn't hit on
if someone
woman
puts in a
there.
complaint on you, you like they get rid of you. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wouldn't be able to hit on women on there. It's just too creepy.
Yeah, that'd be strange.
All right, you want to do manifesto? Probably final round.
Final round. Okay, we're going to go with some science, some paleontology. So they found a site in Utah that has like multiple T-Rexes in one area. And so they're kind of wondering if possibly they could have been pack hunters because it looks kind of like maybe they all died together. Although they're exploring some other options like maybe a river or something all washed them in one spot or something. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting idea that they might have been like pack hunters running around together.
Yeah, I read an article that said they were slow. So maybe like they had to work in packs if they were slow and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation in that field, but
I was going to say, like, usually don't animals hunt in pack because they're kind of going after things larger than them, or is that not the case?
sometimes they can take on things bigger than them, yeah.
But it seems like would there have been much bigger than them?
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely other dinosaurs that were bigger than them, but still, you figure you take out something medium size, that's a good meal for everybody. I don't know.
Do you think the majority of dinosaurs had feathers, like people are speculating?
Well, they have definitely found some soft tissue with feathers, so I don't know the extent of it, though.
When they show, like, that picture has, like, very, like, leathery looking T-Rexes.
Right. Sometimes I wonder if maybe they were, like, cute, like...
Yeah.
Because you can't look at, like, an animal skull and be like, oh...
Yeah.
You ever see a rabbit skull? I'm like, that's some hideous motherfucker.
Exactly, yeah. It might have been... Because, like, they say, like, modern birds derive from them, right?
Right, yeah. So, nobody really knows.
Yeah.
Who invented the whole, jackalope thing, putting the antlers on a rabbit skull?
I don't know. There's been a lot of taxidermy frauds, like, going back a long time. Like, you get the fake mermaids and just people sewing parts of one onto another.
They've probably been doing that for thousands of years, though, because of all these, like...
At least hundreds, yeah.
Mythical creatures we hear about. They used to think that dinosaurs were dragons, right?
I mean, probably some of that comes from that. I mean, if you stumble upon, like, a fucking skull somewhere, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
That's true. Like, back in the day, if, like, someone, like, dug up, like, a pterodactyl, like, skeleton, they'd be like, I could see him going, like, this was a fucking dragon.
I think, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure somebody did find some of that stuff, but, like, there's a lot of places where there's footprints, in the stone. So you get some weird legends and stuff around that. Like, how do you explain that,
Oh, yeah. All right, well, we're just about running out of time here, but I figured I'd go out on just kind of a happy, pleasant story. 19-pound cat missing for 28 days found in neighbor's chimney. A Washington state woman said her 19-pound cat was missing for 28 days before being found in a place she never considered the portly feline could fit, her neighbor's chimney.
Apparently, it didn't fit very fucking well.
Caitlin Wurtenberger said the house next door to her Union Gap home was vacant and under construction when Piper, her 19-pound tuxedo cat, went missing from her house. Wurtenberger said she put up flyers and searched the area, but there was no sign of Piper. She said that 28 days after her new neighbors had moved into the home, one of them told her that they had been hearing meowing inside their home for about 5 days. The neighbors invited Wurtenberger to come search their home, and she found the feline stuck in the fireplace damper. She's a big cat. I didn't think she could fit down a chimney, Wurtenberger told KEPR-TV. I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. It was always kind of in my head that possibly she wasn't coming back, but I still had that feeling that she wasn't really gone yet. Wurtenberger told Piper to took Piper to a veterinarian who said the cat was dehydrated and had lost about 7 pounds during the time she was missing. The pet owner said she does not know how long Piper was in the chimney. But it seems like, wouldn't the cat have, it says dehydrated, but wouldn't it have straight up died unless it was getting like rainwater or something? It would have had to get some sort of water, wouldn't it?
It could have been.
Yeah, how long was it in there for? If it was like a few days, then it could possibly survive, but anything longer than, I don't know, 5 days would be insane.
Didn't like get skinny enough to squeeze through though.
That's true. It lost 7 pounds and it was still stuck.
It was 19 pounds to start with, right?
Yeah.
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 So it lost more than a third of its body weight, and it's still getting.
Wonder how far it got into the chimney. Like, did they have to like?
Maybe it came down to like some kind of flu where it couldn't back up and it couldn't go forward.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't go into that much detail, but she got her cat back, so it's a happy ending.
And it lost weight.
And that will end our show today. I hope everybody had fun. If you liked our stupid show here today, please give us a like, subscribe, leave us a positive review, give us comments on YouTube. We like to hear from you guys, see what's on your mind. And also follow us on the social medias, guys. Where can people find you on Twitter?
I am at a name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that's going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care, guys.
Have a good one.